It's the Empowerment Perspective Podcast, hosted by Demiso Josie and Mr. Kareem Spence. Stay empowered. Stay empowered.
All right, welcome to yet another episode of the Empowerment Perspective Podcast. I go by the name of Demiso Josie alongside
Spencer's here.
How we doing?
It's been a long time.
It has been. I don't know, the new year, we got off to a little slow start. Well, I did the Fatherhood Podcast with Pete Palisano, so we've still been working, and you've been mentoring, so, you know,
Yes.
the Empowerment Perspective Group has been out here doing its thing, so...
And that's part of the reason why I was late, because I was sitting at Burger King, responding to a text message, and I'm put them on blast because I want to get them down to the HBCU College Expo in March. I want to take everybody. And the comment that was made is, I guess it's like my take it personal. I got two.
Right.
I take it personal what they said about you last week before. So the comment was made rather not if I should take all the students down to the College Expo, or if I should just take some students to the College Expo, mainly those that are on the path to go to college. But in my mind is that if we're mentoring and we're trying to, guide young minds, I don't know what's going to be that lightning bolt that's going to spark it and say, you know what, I'm ready to go and do this. But if I limit to you and say, you know what, you can't go.
You can't go. It'll never happen.
I'll never know.
So they're trying to limit the number of kids that can go.
Yes.
Interesting.
So
Really interesting.
And I would take it personal. I'm going to take it. I have a lot to say. I got a lot to
Keep
say.
going
It's
in.
been a long time. I got a lot to say. So last week, right, you come down and you're spending your time about 45, 50 minutes that you had to drive. Right, so you're engaging the youth and you're trying to give them an analogy of taking full control over their lives and their education. The teacher decided that it wasn't a good idea because you mentioned two key phrases that you don't need teachers. And I'm glad we're having a talk today with a trainer because eventually, I don't really need you after a certain time.
The interesting thing about that comment, and our viewers, I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but the gentleman made a statement about schools not teaching them Black history and had them having to learn it on their own. That comment just proved what I was basically saying in the comment of you don't necessarily need teachers. Because what's happening is these kids go to school, they're bored all day long, and they're waiting for these adults to give them information.
Yes.
That limits me to the knowledge of that teacher. You don't know everything. The teacher doesn't know everything. So I'm waiting for them to give me stuff that I'm not interested in the first place.
But then what happens when I take a day off? Mental health day.
Right.
That means I get no education?
No education.
Day wasted.
Right. So my point was that they need to go out and take their education.
Absolutely.
So when you have that mentality, the teacher can technically walk into the classroom and say, I need, here's the chapters that you need to know and bounce. Especially today's technology. You can go on Google and find out whatever the heck I need to find out and answer those questions. The problem I think our youth have is they're too passive. And that's the one thing I do not want my children to experience is being passive. You need to go out. If you have an idea, you get the resources together and you go out and take it. And you can learn this stuff on your own. Yes. And as an educator and as a principal, I'm telling you right now, I don't need school to educate my children. As a parent.
The school in itself is just a building.
Yes.
The education comes when you have different experiences with different people. And then you can take a little bit from here, you take a little bit from there, you take a little bit from there. But at the same time, we need to connect with people. But, they have to be aggressive in what they are chasing after.
Now, I will say the teacher is there as a resource.
Facilitate.
Right.
Yes, like LeBron. Right. Facilitate today. He's going to facilitate
If I
the
get
office.
stuck, yes, I'm going to ask you for help.
Yes.
But if I sit here and wait for you, I'm never going to learn Black history. Never.
Yes.
Ever.
Right. Yes.
So I'm taking it personal on that comment that also the gentleman was 30 minutes late, so that also set a precedence. He missed the whole he took the whole comment out of context.
He just jumped in.
It is
What do you mean we don't need teachers?
Right.
I'm a teacher. Yes.
And I was like, and I'm an administrator, so I know exactly what's going on here. So, but that's the whole thing about the empowerment perspective is putting people in positions to empower them, giving you the knowledge and the tools so that you can become successful. If you keep waiting, this world's going to eat you up. You'll be waiting till you blue in the face.
Yeah.
And you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's like waiting, like at the airport for them to call your section, you the board, and you're sitting there, you're waiting,
looking at you,
and you start asking, did anybody call section 1 yet?
Well, section 1 got called 10 minutes ago. Oh, now you got to sit in that line.
Yes,
that's funny. That is funny. So,
yes, sir.
We have a special guest in the building today.
Yes,
long lost friend.
Yeah.
So I'll keep reaching.
She was on the milk box.
Huh?
She was on the milk box.
No, she was not on the milk box.
Oh.
She wasn't that kind of lost.
Well, let me ask you this, because in my neighborhood where I come from, we can't find you in 2 places. You in college, or were you in jail? Where were you?
Wasn't the second one.
Okay, all right.
That's really interesting. So I keep digging deep into my Rolodex and reconnecting with people I went to school with. I think you went to school with my wife since elementary school, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And then I think we met in middle school, and then high school happens. You kind of separate and things, and then this magical thing called Facebook happened.
Okay.
And you start reconnecting with people.
Okay.
I wonder what she's doing.
Okay.
And then I found out she's into personal training. So what we're going to do this month of February, we're talking about health and fitness, because it's getting around that time where everyone's starting to have their New Year's resolutions. I know you hate that word. We'll get to that in a second. And they're starting to fall off.
I hate this time. Let me tell you what. I got to say.
He's mad at me.
Yeah.
Well, not so much as you. Is that I'm mad that I can't get to the machines and the equipment that I need, because everybody, from my understanding, is trying to get slim for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But you just can't come in January and start tying up all the machines. Now, the people that's been there from the summertime, like me, I need to get my workout in the way. Let's move.
It's a phenomenon.
I took the other approach. I stopped going.
You
I'm going to wait for all the suckers to clear out first, and then go back up in there where it's nice and clear.
I just stand next to the machine like you almost done. This is your last breath. You almost done? And you're not sweating. Like when your phone texting, what are you doing?
Well, I'd like to officially welcome you to the podcast.
Welcome.
I don't know how to say your last name. I'm trying to practice, but I didn't want to get it wrong. I know what it used to be. So how do you pronounce your last name?
Pennabianco.
Whoa.
Let's see, that's a lot of letters.
It's a lot. It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful. Pennabianco.
Pennabianco. Melanie Pennabianco's in the building.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
We're going now. Welcome, Mel. Welcome to the show.
Perfect. One syllable.
Yes,
I can't mess that up.
I'm not going.
That is too funny.
One syllable is perfect. No, thank you guys for having me. It's an honor. I've been following your group since you started, early in the process, and I will say it was like an honor for you to, you requested anybody who was in the fitness world to kind of reach out to you, and when you decided to have me, I was like, this is cool, because you guys touch a lot of people, and your goal is to help people reach their full potential, and that's something that I feel that I try to aspire to, every day in what I do. So this is an honor, and it's super cool to be here with you guys. So I'm excited to share and help in any way that I can.
Let's go ahead.
I have a confession.
What you got?
Though.
What you got?
Because we put in a lot of work, especially like when you're in this line of business, you don't often see the fruits of your labor. Like, you know what I mean? You hope that people listen to you and carry on and things of that nature. And I was getting a little discouraged after, here and there. And I was like, do I really want to keep doing this? And because I'm very visual, so I need to see, my work, the results of my work. So I really want to keep doing this and doing these podcasts and stuff. I love traveling and meeting new people and stuff like that. But every so often, people make comments like, the work that we're doing is really impacting people. So it's not about me. It's definitely not about making a whole lot of money and all that stuff. It's just that we have experiences and ideas that we want to share with people, stuff that helped us, so that we just want to give it to other people. So it makes me feel good that you actually feel that way. Because I wanted to know what your honest assessment was since you've been listening to it.
What you're doing matters, and I feel like when you have that come from of what can I do through my life experience and my whatever your niche is, to positively impact other people's lives, and you put yourself out there. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes we're in our comfort zone. A lot of times when you're making it about other people, you're actually outside your comfort zone. I'm sure that initially this was outside your comfort zone. There were a lot of things that you guys did that were like, maybe you took it from just audio to video.
Right.
Maybe you weren't quite, ready, whatever the scenario is, but know that you're making a difference, because even if my whole thing is you touch one person, that one person can go and touch 100 people, right? So what you're doing matters.
It's awesome. I think we don't have a comfort zone, to be honest with you, because we just try stuff.
Right.
It's like, is it work? All right, we'll try this. We'll do that. We got this presentation. all right, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the kind of thing that we that's just who we are. So we don't have a comfort zone per se. And I wish so many other people would stop putting themselves into that box and saying that I'm just this and not exploring other things.
But that goes to the mental side of things. Even with personal training, and most of it's all mental. So when they say that, you know what, I can't do this, or I can't lift this, or I can't run that extra mile, that's where it comes into that mental side, the mental block, the mental barriers that they create for themselves.
Right. So I was listening to you and my wife talk earlier, and I was taking notes, mental notes and things, and we talked about let's talk about this concept of the resolution and why you don't like that word. Why is that word so taboo?
So I think that I have a problem with that word because most people make resolutions and really aren't serious about a resolution. I think it's the thing to do when a new year comes. I mean, it's called a New Year's resolution, right? It's that January. It's the reason you can't get on equipment at the gym right now.
Oh, yes. It's the worst.
It's 110% the reason. And it's not likely to be stuck to. I would put myself out there and say that if you were to ask the majority of people just in your life, in your circle, tell me 1 to 2 resolutions that you've made in your life that you've followed through with and stuck with, you'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of people, right, who have done that. The other reason I don't like the word resolution is it alludes to the fact that somebody has to do a complete overhaul of who they are. And I'm a believer in we all have this sound foundation of ourselves on the whole. We might have to dig down deep, to access that, but we have that. We have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, right? To me, when you want to improve yourself, you have to tap into those strengths and work on the weaknesses to some degree, right? So you're talking about the mental aspect of anything, success in anything. I'm a bigger fan of the word goal than resolution. I think that the reason people don't set goals is because they don't know how to. And they fear goals because when you put a goal out there and you write it down, tell somebody, whatever it is, it's that fear of, am I really willing to do what it takes to put the work in, to make that happen? If I say it's a resolution, it's almost as if people get a free pass to not follow through, you know what I mean, on a resolution. Where when it's a goal, and I've told 10 friends that I'm going to write a book this year,
right?
Now I'm accountable.
You have a book coming out?
Yeah, I'm gonna be right. I am in the process.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, in the process.
We had a pre-conversation.
When I was at Burger King?
No, this was a couple days ago.
Oh, okay.
When you first started talking.
But no, I'm a bigger fan of the word goal. But when I talk to people, whether it's in the fitness industry, anywhere, and you start talking about goals, it's like, whoa, goals.
You're right.
And I think that it's because most adults have never really set them themselves. Maybe you set a goal to graduate college, but didn't that college initially set that four-year goal and timeline for you? Graduating high school, it's kind of the expectation, you know what I mean? And that goal was set for you.
Right.
So when I talk to adults, it's like, well, I wouldn't even know how to go about setting a goal. Like, what do you mean? And you have to I have to teach them. And that's that mental behavior-driven stuff.
So how do we set goals? What's the
secret?
What's the secret?
Yeah, so it's sitting down and thinking about what you want. That's what I tell people. I'm like, well, okay, in my industry, since we're using fitness, I could talk about goals. We could do a whole separate, podcast on that. But
you want your own podcast now?
Next month when you have me on. No, but when it comes to fitness, I tell people you need to sit down. And the first thing I ask people, they enroll in the gym. They're a new member, let's say. They meet with me as a trainer just for their initial, we're going to show you around. We're going to talk about why you're here, set you, on pace to do what you want to do. The first thing I say to them is, what are your goals? Why did you join the gym?
It's that why question again.
And they're like, I want to lose weight.
Right.
Okay, that's fantastic. Right. But here, it's not specific enough.
Right.
And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you have to know specifically how much weight you want to lose.
Right.
And people go, no, I can't. A number is it's too accountable. It's not gray. It's black, right? It's like I have now. If I say the number 15,
Right.
and I only lose 12, you know what I mean?
Right.
That it becomes so. It's teaching them that number one, give yourself permission to set the goal. Give yourself permission that if something happens and that you don't achieve that goal, that's okay, but we don't stop working. You know what I mean, towards that goal.
Right.
So it's teaching them, and I use the acronym SMART. You know, goals have to be specific. You have to know exactly what you want to accomplish. They have to be measurable, you know, as the M. You have to have some tool that measures that you accomplished that, right? They have to be attainable, so it can't be something that's so outside your realm, you know, of achieving. Realistic. You can't tell me you want to lose 70 pounds in a month. That's not realistic. Now, we can take that timeline out, and that's the T, right? It has to be time bound.
Right.
So we've got to know what we want to accomplish, that's realistic for us to accomplish it, and that there's a deadline to that.
Right.
I like that you did that with no notes. That's
That was
interesting.
awesome, man.
That's really, she studied.
She did this
That is conversation.
It's real. It's real.
That's awesome.
She actually believes in this little smart thing.
I do believe
So
in that.
one of our foundational things that we talk about is that why. Like, you know, in order for you to establish a realistic goal for yourself, you have to have that reason behind why you're doing it. And I feel like when it comes to fitness or health things, a lot of people struggle with it because they don't have a strong enough why. So it's easier for me to be like, all right, I give up. You know, but when you have that why where you really can't give up, or else it's a matter of life and death at that point, then it becomes, you know, a little bit easier to stay with that process.
Because you figure like, okay, if I don't do this, I don't eat. Now it becomes a survival of the fittest, and I need to be able to complete this mission, or I won't eat.
Right.
So I think that's huge, though. But
Yeah.
It is huge. And that's that reason. It can't be, I tell people, it can't be that you want to sit fit in a size 4.
Right.
That's not good enough.
Right.
And for me, whenever I teach people about why, because I'm a big believer in that word too, it's like there has to be something that is going to improve your lifestyle, your quality, that quality of life thing. That's got to be that why, that driving force. So I train a lot of women, a lot of moms. I use their kids all day. You know, it's what I say to them. I'm like, you can't get up and down off the floor right now with your child to play. That's your why. The 20 pounds is the measurable, specific aspect of your goal, but the goal is your quality of life and your child, you know, and being able to get up and down off that floor.
Right.
And whenever you don't want to come to the gym or you want to go through the drive-through,
20 below. I'm not going.
you got it.
They should close.
We know.
They should close the gym. The gym is closed
You
today.
know, but I tell them, picture your child's face.
Right.
And it's harsh for some people, but it's the truth. You know?
Right.
So it is that why is super important.
I know we're talking mental here, but when it comes to health and fitness, I also heard Drew, my wife, talk about basically 3 elements. You know, the mental is one element. What are those other 2 elements to, I guess, your fitness goals?
Yeah.
obtaining?
So what's interesting about I use weight loss as an example, or weight management, is most people focus on the other 2, the mental / behavior side. You know, they focus on strictly the nutrition and the activity side, right? So there's 3 elements to weight loss, truly, and an ongoing sustainable health, really. Because I use the word weight loss, but really, for me, it's health. You know, for me, it shouldn't be the superficial reasons that we're doing it. It should be that ongoing quality, energy level, you know, all those things, removal of medications, whatever it is for somebody, right? The mental side is the hardest, though, because I will say most people only think that the 2 sides exist.
Right.
Of activity level,
Right.
which activity level we break into 2 things, like the everyday stuff that you're already doing. So if somebody's a waitress, you know, they're already walking all day, right? They're already doing all those things all day. It's the additional activity, the exercise, right, on top of that falls in that category. The nutrition, everything we're putting in our bodies, you know, every single day, and then the behavior, you know, on the mental side. So most people, especially in January, you know, fruits and vegetables in the house, we're going to Whole Foods, you know, we're doing all those
Right.
things, we're taking up parking spots at the gym, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they didn't work on the mental behavior side. So this is all action oriented, right? The nutrition and the activity is all action.
Right.
So when we don't want to do that anymore and we haven't worked on the behavior and the mental side, We stop doing those
Doing that
action
stuff,
things.
right.
So that's why 2 weeks from now, you don't need to worry about your equipment.
It'll be there.
It's sad to say, but those people are not going to be on that equipment anymore
Right.
because they haven't changed their habits. They haven't changed their mentality. They haven't looked for their why. Written down those goals, worked with somebody, to help them through that kind of
I
stuff.
think part of the reason is one, it's the hardest to change, and two, it's not something that's tangible. Like I can go to the store and see the ingredients of healthy foods. I can go to the gym and get that exercise, but mentally, it's the concept is nothing that I can really touch. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard for me to one, understand it, and then two, to be able to change your behavior to do it. It's tough. I think establishing a routine is huge in changing those behaviors.
Yes.
And really putting yourself in a zone where like you don't have an option. Like when I do go back to the gym, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't have an option because it's the only time I can get it in, and it just becomes a part of my routine. It's to the point now I still wake up 4:30 in the morning. I was up this morning like sitting there chilling.
You go to the bathroom?
My body is just conditioned, and my mind and my behavior is conditioned to do that.
God damn, yeah. I talked about it.
You talked
It's just
about
a conversation.
Couldn't do
I
it.
think I'm going to get up at 5, but no.
I don't have enough. I mean, because my day's so busy out after that. So that's the only time that I have to actually clear my head and to focus just on me, and then get myself ready for the day. Because after that, it's like you got the horse races, and they're off.
Yes,
Like, you run it all day
The
long.
behavior part, like you're saying, it's scary for people. And the way that I try to reel it in and make it not scary is to tell people just start small with behaviors. Like if I'm talking to somebody about nutrition. Now I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm not a registered nutritionist. So my scope of practice, being a trainer, it's a little small on the nutrition side. I can do, I can recommend things, and I can kind of push people in a general healthy direction. I can't write them up, meal plans and things like that. But if I'm using nutrition, not good.
No?
That's a big no-no.
What about beans? What about beans for breakfast? Can I have this for breakfast?
Absolutely no.
No.
Bought a 2-liter Pepsi and some Doritos, and he got some more snacks.
Well, since we are
Sounds
talking,
like he has. Oh yeah, those are good too. Yeah, all artificial flavors.
this is a no-no.
No, it's a big no.
So, well, here's the thing. Parents, don't send your kids to school with this kind of stuff. And you saying it's no good. Because in the building, I see kids eating this. Now, I want to eat this during the game, but I see kids in the building eating this for breakfast. I see students having stuff like this for lunch. And this is all they'll have, like 6.5 hours a day. 5 days a week. This is what they're having with their lunch.
Yeah.
If they throw the sandwich away, eat the snacks.
But it tastes so good.
It does.
That's
it really does.
Well, that's it as a society. Like it's like that instant gratification. You know what I mean? And it's that it goes down to that mental aspect that we talked about, because the nutrition and the activity still involve the mental aspect, right? So it's like reprogramming your brain on getting rid of the old habits, getting rid of but I will tell you, like from somebody who does cycles of clean eating, and again we could talk about that in a whole separate conversation, but no one who eats, when we eat processed food, everybody does it. We live in a society of processed food. It's just, unless you're a 100% clean eater, everybody eats that kind of stuff from time to time, at least, right? When you do that, you're interfering with your body's natural processes, your ability to break down food, your ability to absorb nutrients, things like that. When you eliminate that stuff, even for 30 days, your body gets a clean slate. Almost, right? So it starts to do things differently. You start to feel a different energy level. You start to sleep better. Skin starts to clear out. Things start to happen. So no one really knows that that's what your body's supposed to feel like, because since we were children and going to school, and even the baby food that's that's on the market, our bodies have been filled with stuff that it shouldn't be filled with. But if you can go through the process that even the 30 days where you're eliminating, I tell people, just eliminate processed food for 30 days. That's all. Become an ingredient. I know, it's hard.
No, I don't want to.
It's hard, right? But
I don't want to give up sugar.
Eliminate it, and see how just argument's sake, see how your body feels.
Does that work with people? Can I eliminate people for 30 days? And I'm going to feel refreshed. Ready to go.
Anything toxic.
Send the recipe.
I'm going off the grid for 30 days, everybody.
You shut it down?
Coming back refreshed.
Now, how much water should we be drinking?
Oh, water is such a good topic because that's one of those behavior changes that I get people to try to do because most people are really dehydrated. That's the reality. And a lot of people think that what they believe is fat storage actually is water storage in their body. So there's a great article, and I'll share it with you guys, and you can get it out there and share it with everybody. You don't even
water,
have
read, get rid of people.
It's so many healthy things thrown at you all at once.
Messing up the entire NBA season. Playoffs about to start.
It's a great article, and it allows you to like enter in your body weight, enter in the average amount of time daily, that you have physical activity, and then it tells you how many ounces of water per day, you should be taking in. But most people can't get up to that number right away, right? Because you're taking them from, somebody might drink one of these in a day, average. When, like me, I should be drinking 107 ounces of water a day, right? So
107.
The heavier you are, the more water you should be
Ain't that much water in the world for me.
But keep in mind things like soup, things like coffee, things like, that are juice.
Soda?
That is still
Beer?
considered beer, no.
Soda?
Alcohol,
No.
no. Soda, no. Unfortunately, sorry. But anyway, my point is, even if I can get somebody, the first thing they do in the morning is just pour themselves a glass of water when they wake up. They drink that water. The last thing they do at night, have some water. You know what I mean? Before you work out, have some water. If we can start little steps like that, those are those little behavior changes that I'm talking about, that all of a sudden people are like, well, I could do that, so give me the next thing, that I could do. So it's those little tweaks that I think set people up to be more successful, because when you throw 5 things at anybody at once to tweak, they're like, I'm not doing any of those things. You know what I mean? So the water is super, super important. We can't function without water, and the majority of our society is completely dehydrated. So
Sounds like a challenge.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing.
They got a 30-day squat challenge. They had the push-up challenge. I say we should challenge people not to drink water and see what happens.
See what happens.
See what happens. Let's see how your body turns
We're
out.
supposed to be helping people,
We are.
not killing them.
You have to show the opposite side of the spectrum in order for people to actually understand what the danger is for not having water.
I see who's going to be
It won't be
sacrificial
me.
lamb.
It won't be me.
That is too funny. I know previously in our conversation we talked about the process, and people need to enjoy the process and not necessarily worry about the end result so much. How do you get your client to focus on the process more so? I know you have the goal at the end, but if they don't fall in love with the process, this is when they start falling off your resolutions. Your goal setting and stuff.
No, it's true. It's chunking down that goal. That's kind of where I start with people, right? So if we have a 60-day goal,
Are you a teacher? You're talking a lot of teaching terms. You sound like a teacher. Yeah.
Same language.
Okay.
It's chunking that down, right? So if we have a 60-day goal, like that's far away for a lot of people. That's 8 weeks, right? That's 8 weeks of nutrition, 8 weeks of activity, 8 weeks of behavior changes, and sometimes when that goal seems so far away, you got to break it down, and reel it in for people. So the first thing I do around activity and around exercise is tell people, let's get really clear about what you don't want to do involving exercise, because you have some example. Some people have like group anxiety. They don't want to be in a fitness, in a fitness class.
Like
they
Zumba?
don't want to be, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I like Zumba.
They don't like to be, like I work out solo. I don't like working out with anybody. That's how I operate. That's how I am.
You talk to people when you work out? I don't like people talking to me.
Earbuds in, don't talk to me. Yeah, I take my daughter occasionally. We talk because I'm helping her with things. But if I'm not training you and I'm on the clock, I'm working out, I'm doing my own thing. Even when me and my husband go, I like, don't talk to me. We're good. You do your thing. I'll do my thing. But some people love that environment, though. Like some people love the group environment. Quite frankly, it's why CrossFit is so successful, is because it's a community, right? People love that you go there, you support each other. It's wonderful. That's not an environment for me. So I help to try to identify what are we ruling out? What don't you like? And then let's figure out what you do like. If it comes down to group stuff, go ahead.
How do we get away from leg day? Leg day is leg day is the worst.
I don't really have an answer for that one. I think you have to just keep doing it.
Leg day's the worst. What day is it? Leg day.
Yeah. But I have them understand that it doesn't have to be punishment exercise. It should be something that you enjoy. I try to make our sessions enjoyable. I try to explain to them that now that you're part of this gym, if I'm training somebody in the gym environment, this is a community. Try to get to know people who you're next to the, elliptical on. Some people aren't social though, so you can't go there. So it's kind of getting to know the person, a lot of people are uncomfortable in a gym when they first start, especially women. Women are like, everybody's looking at me. Everybody's judging me. Everybody.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why do you guys show up at the gym with a whole bunch of makeup on?
Oh, not me. Not me.
That's what I was going to say. That if I go up, let's say the girl dropped the towel, so I went to go pick it up for her. She thinks I'm hitting on her at the gym. I'm like, I'm just picking up the towel. I'm good.
No, that's not everybody. But I will say that the majority of women, I have to explain to them that men are here and they're looking at themselves more than they're looking at you, right? So women have this false sense of what a gym environment is. Like, everybody's judging me, everybody's looking at me, you have to drop that. That needs to go right away. We can't worry about what others think of us. This is your journey. That's number one. But it is that type of stigma that you have to work against, and I find it more with my female clients, than I do with my male clients. The guys are just there to kind of go in, get the job done, you know what I mean, and then leave. Whereas I feel women are on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, so we have to work against that with them a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like you. Don't talk to me when I'm in the gym. I don't even want you to say hi. Like, just don't even look at me.
I left one day because somebody was talking to me too much. So you know what? I'm just going to leave. That's no need.
He's like, I'm out. That is too funny. So I see on social media a lot, these people that are in the gym doing these exercises completely wrong. Now, you, off the clock, you're doing your own workout. Have you went up and told somebody, listen, you about to hurt yourself? Because that's not how the machines go.
Say, listen, stupid.
It's such a fine line.
We'll tear your rotator cuff.
Yeah, it is. It's such a fine line. When I'm off the clock, no. Now, if it's somebody I know from town, and I feel comfortable with them, then they know what I do for a living. Of course, I'll walk over and I'll be like, hey, where'd you learn how to do a squat? Or where did you learn? And I kind of like start the conversation and I kind of give them some pointers. On the clock, when I'm at the gym and I'm not with a client, maybe I'm walking the floor or whatever, I will go up to a member and I'll say, hey, would you mind if I give you a little bit of help with your form? Because I really don't want you to hurt your back. I noticed that you were, too far forward, or your knees are over your, whatever it is. You have to know the person that you're approaching too. Men are much less approachable with that kind of stuff. I will say, no offense. Women are a little bit more like, but yeah. So that's a touchy thing.
Too funny.
Because there's a whole segment of people out there who really do think they know what they're doing. Like, you can tell they're confident. They think they know what they're doing, and I'm like, you're not going to have a knee in in 5 years. You know what I mean? So it's hard because it does bother you. Like, you're like, really want to go up to that person.
I saw this video. This lady was on this lat pull down machine, right? Mm-hmm. He was supposed to be sitting down, pulling the bar. She's twisting it.
Oh.
I was cracking up. Like, seriously. Like, you really thought that machine did that?
Yeah.
Like, what is that supposed to be doing for you in the first place?
So she's pulling and twisting?
She's not pulling the weight down. She just twisted. Maybe she's stretching herself out.
What I will do, like, I don't know if you guys have these on your machines at the gym you go to, but like most Life Fitness machines, which are a lot of what the gyms use, have like a diagram on them that actually show you the way to properly, use a machine, what part of the body you should be feeling it in, and I'll be like, hey, have you ever, taken a look over here and seen, because these are very user friendly, these machines. So there's kid gloves. You have to really know who you're talking to.
Too nice.
Yeah.
Let me ask this: have you ever seen somebody do something wrong, and somebody actually watching them? As soon as they're done with the machine, they walk over and do the same thing.
No, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that. No.
I see a whole bunch of copycats. I watch them.
My biggest pet peeve in the gym is you working on 2 machines at once.
I'd lock down 3.
I can't stand it.
I lock down 3. I take my towel and I lock down 3 machines. Absolutely, I'm locking down 3 machines at one time because I'll rotate. Like I'll go from the bench press, and then from there I may go what's the butterfly thing?
Chest flies.
Chest flies. So I'll lock down that. Then I may go lock down a dip. So I'll go do all 3 episodes.
Like you just rotating. That's selfish.
People in my way. That's stuff I need to do.
You need to get it done.
Yes.
That is too fun. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. Those of you who follow us on the website, we got some new merchandise out.
Yes.
The Hustle Spirit shirts are out there. Soon we're going to get that one out there. Some other things on there. But we have this mug here.
I'm going to buy that today.
Embrace My Pettiness mug.
Yes.
Make sure you cop that. So on our show, I'm sure you listen, we ask our guests, have they embraced their pettiness or are you petty? So would you consider yourself a petty person?
You're a trainer. You have to be petty.
In certain aspects, probably. I mean, if I'm being totally,
You have to be.
Yeah.
Because I know, because I had a trainer, like we started off the conversation saying that, after a certain time you really don't need someone. Because even like a trainer, like how many want to say weeks would you work out with a person where you say, you know what, just go?
You're on your own?
Yes.
Depends on the person. Usually it depends on what they need me for. There are people who just want they want to learn specific things. So they might be a 4-week to 8-week, process. There's other people who have larger goals, and it depends on how much of a student they are. Because I'm a firm believer, and I'm not just a trainer, I'm a teacher. When you're finished with me, you should be able to do on your own what you and I have done together, right? So it's a process, but that is my goal. When I tell people that from the door, I'm like, listen, I'm more of a teacher than a trainer. Like, yes, I'm designing programs for you, but I'm always explaining verbally, why we're doing what we're doing, why we're doing it in the order that we're doing it, so that when they leave me, it's Melanie used to do an upper body exercise with me, followed by a lower body exercise, followed by a core. I'm gonna continue to do that. So it depends, but I'm not of the belief that someone should need me forever. I don't think that that's necessary.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what his point was. Like, I need the guidance, and if I get off course, I need you to put me back. And this is how I know that you're petty, because you'll start creating stuff that I can't do. I can't. Good while. I can't sit in this one position for 30 minutes. Like they had me sitting against the wall for 30 minutes. Okay, I'm going Wawa. You sit there for 30 minutes. I'll be back.
Yeah, you still need me. Yeah.
See, this is why you need me in your life.
So you mentioned earlier about a book.
Yes.
What's going on with this book?
So it's interesting how this whole thing developed, because I do have 2 girls at home. They're 10 and 14. My why, honestly, for everything that I do. And I was driving one day a few months ago with my 10-year-old in the car, and they're smarter than us. I always say that about my kids. Like they're just smart. They come out with stuff all the time, and you're like, yeah, you just checked me, So that was the type of conversation that we had. We were driving, and I don't know what sparked it, but she looked at me and she's like, Mom, what was your dream job? And I was like, oh. And it cut me. You know what I mean? And I was like, and my husband's like, why did it cut you? And I'm like, because when your kid asks you that, it means they think that you're not doing
it, right?
When they say, what was your dream job? You know what I mean? It means that they think you're not doing it.
She's trying to say you're not good at your job.
Feedback. I don't know. I'm telling you. She's
You're not good at this at all.
Listen, she's my number one source of feedback. I'm like, give it to me straight. So, what is it? She is that kid.
Backup plan? What was your backup plan?
So, I stopped for a second, and I'm like, all right, is this a parenting moment, or is it like an honesty moment? So I was like, well, I love what I do as a trainer, that, and I did build an MLM business for years, and I was highly successful with that. I loved that. I loved what I was doing. Stepped away for different reasons that I don't need to share today. But then I said, well, I know I always wanted to be a mom my whole life. And she looked at me and she said, but a mom's who you are to me. It's not what you do. And I was like, oh,
10?
okay. And I said, so you're trying to tell me that it's not my job, it's part of who I am.
Who you are, yeah.
And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh. And we got home and I was like, all right, like I need to show these girls. You're talking about my why, right? Like I need to show them that you need to do the things that you've always wanted to do, you know? And I've always wanted to write. It was one of the, like I train, you know, talk about being a teacher. Like I love sharing. I love helping any way that I can. And I love writing. And it always come easily to me, you know? And I thought, this is it.
You didn't have after school detention, did you?
No.
Because they made me write. I'm right
And I said, that's it. And the premise of the book is based on the conversation
That's awesome.
that I had with her. So it was not just the spark for the book, but it was that, you know, she ignited that in me. And yeah, it's going to be called Mom Goals Matter. And it's really about that premise of like, you know, being a mom is an incredible thing. It's a gift. It's the biggest role, one of the biggest roles that you'll ever play, you know, in your life. But it's not your sole purpose, you know. And I think that there are a lot of women walking around out there, myself included, for a period of time that lock themselves in, like you said, into that category. And whether it's society that puts us in that and when we subscribe to it, or it's self-inflicted, you know, whatever it is, we tend to think that we're being selfish if we have our own thing.
You're right.
There's this, if you're a working mom, stay-at-home moms think this about you. You know, if you're a stay-at-home mom, working moms think this about you. And then you've got the women who, like me, like training isn't full-time. Like I do this it's part-time and it's flexible around my kids. So I kind of do have like the best of both worlds, but it's...
We don't say it anymore.
Yeah.
The power perspective does not support R. Kelly.
No, we don't say that word.
So it's interesting, but I think, and I'm hopeful that the book will resonate with a lot of women. No offense that I didn't write it, you know, geared towards men, but I think that women need to. It's going to be a book that kind of helps them give themselves permission to put themselves in the top of a priority list, because without us being good, we truly aren't as good for our children, you know, as we can be. I'm a firm believer in that. So
interesting. There's a lot of things going through my brain right now, and going back to the fatherhood episode, and I'm thinking, if my daughter said that to me, I don't think she would ever say that, but just because I think as a father, my job is to provide for the family, I feel. But I have enough space and creativity to be able to do what I technically want to do. I'm loose enough to do that. I'm not saying I'm detached from my kids, but in that sense, I can still maneuver and do podcasts and stuff like that. And I look at my wife and I'm like, well, she's a mom, like, but that's just what she wants to do. And I don't think being a mother, at least from my wife's perspective, is she don't have the space to be creative and do the things that I'm free to do, because that's just because she put herself in that position. That's just the roles that we put.
Well, being a mom is tough. Like, you have the weight of the entire household on your shoulder.
Yes.
And if it falls apart, then you can't look at dad and be like, you know what, it's all you. No, because mom just takes on that responsibility and she gets the job done.
Yeah.
And that is part of my writing already. What you just said about that mentality of what the father's role is, you know, versus what the mother's role is. That even in our society today, where a lot of women do work, you know, and our moms, that still exists.
Right.
So that's still very much in the forefront. And it's I grew up thinking my dad was doing what he wanted to do because it's what put food on the table. Right. You know what I mean? That was the mentality that we had as kids. Is that was his role, that was my mom's role, and I watched my mom give up. And I knew she was sacrificing herself, you know what I mean, in the process, to be a mom, which she'll tell you today she would do it, you know, all over again. But I think it's that heavy expectation that carries a lot on women. You know, it's like, well, I would love to do this, but I can't.
Can't,
And
right.
and the truth is, that's not a truth. And I think that that's where it is for women. It's like understanding that it is not selfish to think that you can also do something else, that it is okay, to give and you can still be a great mom. The one doesn't have to be sacrificed. You know what I mean?
Right.
To have the other. So
I think it goes back to this thing about process and goals again. Like, I feel like the process could be anything. Like, I can work in TV, I can work in schools. Like, the process is whatever it is. The end result, I'm still going to provide for my family. But I think that a lot of people just get caught up in, I have to provide for my family, so I'm going to do something I don't necessarily like because I have to, but it's because they're looking at the end goal instead of the process. Like, all right, I can still provide for my family, still have a sense of who I am and the stuff that I want, and putting themselves in those positions. There's so many people walking around here doing jobs that they hate and can't stand because they're looking at the end result of it and not the process behind it. So I think that's huge, and it's just interesting. I wish I had you on the fatherhood episode, because I'm now thinking like just my role as a father and my own processes and things of that nature versus my wife's. So it's interesting.
yeah.
So
I think that we need to start shattering the entire thing called a role. I think just because you're this gender or you're this gender doesn't mean that you can't do certain type of things. We really need to start to redefine, because the world has changed since the roles of daddy and mommy, and we need to redefine on what daddy and mommy should be doing and what that should actually look like.
this is true. I know.
It starts at home too. That those share, even something little like the shared household responsibilities. Like I take out the garbage. You know what I mean?
Becca, you hear that? No.
I do things outside. We share. Like my husband will, if he needs to throw in a load of laundry, you know what I mean? He'll throw in a load of laundry. It's those little things too that when you're bringing children up through it, they see. That never happened in my house. My dad went to work all day. He came home. He was tired. Dinner was waiting for him. He ate dinner, fell asleep on the chair watching TV.
Trying to get that. How did I do that?
No, you're not getting that no more.
Yep. And mom, took care of the kids, took care of the house, ran us where we needed to be, did all that stuff. And
what about talking? Was talking involved too or no? No talking?
Talking.
Yes.
In
Just having a
regards-
conversation.
Like in our household?
Yeah.
Mom and dad? After we went to bed, I guess that's kind of the way that it was.
Talk.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Listen, he had
The best life.
We're going to get your dad on the podcast. Figure out how he did that. Sit on the couch and watch the game. You don't have to say that.
But he had to go upstairs.
Sheesh.
Watch Sports Center all
Day long. That is funny. But so, what anticipating when you're going to be finishing this book? Like, what are we just slow walking this process?
It is right now. It is. You've written a book, so like you get in these great patterns and then these stall patterns, and then that's kind of I'm in a stall pattern right now.
Right.
But the goal is the end of the year. That's the goal. So that's what I'm shooting for. I had to give it again. The T has to be time bound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like when it gets done, it gets done.
Yeah.
So the end of 2019 is the goal.
I tell you what helped me a lot was I actually think better when I'm driving. So I actually recorded myself while I was driving and just went back and transcribed some of my thoughts.
That's a great idea.
So it was that's how I kind of got out of those ruts and things when I was writing. And then there was pieces of the book where I just wasn't in the mental space to write.
Right.
So I had to wait and go write something happy and then come back to the sad part. But but that helped recording the stuff on the
That's
phone.
a great idea.
I think everybody has a story that they need to tell, and get those thoughts out, because one, it's going to help you deal with whatever it is that you're writing about, and then two, you're going to be able to help somebody else going through it. So we're all messed up at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? We all got stuff with us. So, but that's dope. That's nice. So you are petty, huh? That's what you said.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what the jury says. We have someone that's petty.
Listen, to have somebody sit there and say, I need you to be in this plank position for 2 minutes, that's beyond being petty.
That is funny.
And then you come back. All right, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Slowly but surely. sweating.
You didn't even start the
Yes.
That is too funny. Well, Melanie, we thank you for being on the show and making a trip down here. And,
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I'm
It's
looking
great.
forward to seeing this book come out.
excited.
And definitely, you'll be on our table. We have all the books that we have here as people that have been on the podcast in some shape, form, or fashion, and have stuff out. So shout out to those authors. You can find all their books on Amazon, especially mine, Life Music. Make sure you go get that. Don't forget our apparels on the website. Our petty line is coming slowly but surely coming together. We're actually, I think, talking about making some candles too. So maybe we're going to let the cat out the bag. Since the majority of our followers are women anyway, so we figure out we're going to do something to touch the ladies from the empowerment perspective store.
Plus, plus to have your house smell nice.
Nice. Okay. It's nice and petty.
Yes, nice and petty.
Petty sense going on out there. Trying to think of what else we got going on. Again, this month we're talking about health and fitness. We're actually on our way to Rome University to talk to Demetrius Polge and the head coach of the boys basketball program out there too. So we're going to talk sports psychology though. So we'll work that in that particular podcast. We got a couple other people that are into health and fitness coming on by the end of the month. So February is all about getting your act together. And what I think they're going to see is a common theme is going to be it has to do more with the mentality and behavior than actual physical activities. I know I need to get myself together. My daddy gut starting to grow a little bit.
Daddy gut?
Got to cut that down a little bit.
Well, we did talk about smashing the rolls, so maybe mommy can get a gut.
Mommy can get it. I get it.
Better mommy gut.
That means I'm getting stretch marks.
Absolutely.
We switch it up.
Put some cocoa butter on it. Put some cocoa butter on it.
Educators out there, we're going to be in Atlanta June 18th to the 21st. How to reach and teach today's hip hop generation. You have a 3-hour pre-conference workshop and a bunch of breakouts. And then a month later, we're in Vegas. So make sure you come check us out. It's really dealing with coachable competency and how to get your staff on board on how to reach these students and how to make them become assertive and really take charge of their education. So be on the lookout for that. I'm sure there's other things going on there.
Yeah, we do have a friend of the program. My guy, Corey, who's actually my barber, True Blue Toe is having a skating party on March 10th. So it is free, so show them support. And again, the squad has some fun. So as a skating party, it's going to be a young skating center. The admission is free. Speed skate costs $2 and inline skates are $3. But the address is 763 Park Road, Mace Landing, New Jersey.
So we got the mentor program that we're doing on the 12th this month down at AC. So if you're interested in creating an organization to mentor youth, it's really about the business of mentoring. And we're going to give you some key information. Because when it comes to this business stuff, I was actually having this conversation with my wife last night. There's two sides of it. There's the creative side and there's the business side of it. And a lot of people jump in because of the creative side or the program side of it. And then they're not realizing all the liabilities and all the responsibilities of actually running, especially something that's dealing with you. You got to be careful with that. So we're going to be dropping some knowledge about that on the 12th in Atlantic City, 5:30. I forget where that's at the.
They actually just changed the location. We're going to be at, I think, the 900 block of Mediterranean Avenue. In fact, let me get it because she just sent it to me and I didn't get a chance to send it to you. 1 second.
So while he looks that up and everything, so we're going to obviously continue this mentoring thing. Might make some changes and hit up some other students and kids in various neighborhoods.
Yeah, so we have 912 Mediterranean Avenue. Man, I used to live 900A, so just know we don't leave the hood. We go to the hood. Yeah, so 900A Mediterranean Avenue, right behind Shore Park. So please attend us in Atlantic City, and we're going to start at 5:30.
Awesome. Any last words, Melanie? Any words of wisdom for our audience?
No, just stay the course. If you've already fallen off the wagon, per se, which some people do already early in February, the only way you can truly fail is to stop altogether. So get right back on. Stay consistent. Don't look for constancy. Look for consistency, and do what you can when you can do it. That's really it.
Miss Petty.
I don't really have to say it anymore because we actually have it on the cup. So just go ahead and embrace your pettiness.
That's awesome. So until next time, stay empowered.